Hello, welcome to our RecapPlus channel. Today we will watch a recap movie is called Okja, released in 2017. This is a spoiler content video. So please turn on the subtitle and let's start the story. Lucy Miranda has quite recently assumed control over her family's overall organization from her twin sister, Nancy. The organization was recently run by their dad, who was a horrible man as indicated by everybody at whatever point he is referenced. Lucy needs to eradicate this picture that her dad and sister have made for their organization, and supplant it with a picture that really focuses on all men and creatures. During her first question and answer session, Lucy reports another undertaking that will upset the food business as far as we might be concerned. Miranda, her organization, has tracked down another type of a characteristic conceived super pig and has normally reared it to bring forth 26 distinct piglets. The arrangement is to send every piglet to a homestead in each nation and have ranchers raise the pig by their own regular means. She adds that this will be a rivalry to see who can raise the absolute best super pig, which will be divulged at their terrific opening. Whenever asked what amount of time this venture will require, she answers that it will require 10 years. She says that everything will work out because they need the pig to taste fucking great. After 10 years, in Korea, we see a 14-year-old young lady, Miha, with a Goliath super pig whom she calls Okja. Okja is generally the size of an elephant and appears as though one as well, notwithstanding its hippopotamus-like nose. She is additionally amazingly and can move down a slope into a tree without getting injured. Miha lives alone with her granddad on top of a mountain ranch since the time her folks passed on. Miha loves Okja like family and takes great consideration of her and plays with her in the mountains where they reside. The pair pick natural products together, Okja's number one, and get fish. Miha additionally murmurs mysteries into Okja's monster, floppy ears. At the point when Miha's granddad calls them home, Miha coincidentally slips and almost tumbles off a bluff, notwithstanding Okja rapidly getting the finish of her rope. With astonishing inventiveness, Okja wrangles Miha back up, saving her life. Miha answers by embracing Okja. That evening, while Miha and her granddad have supper, her granddad specifies that Mr. Mundo, Miranda's agent that monitors Okja's development, will be coming the following day. Miha inquires as to whether her granddad paid Mundo the cash so they can keep Okja, and her granddad says he did. Miha nods off in Okja's monstrous arms. The following day, Mundo shows up with the prestigious and TV well-known zoologist, Dr. Johnny Wilcox, who is there to inspect Okja to decide whether she will win the challenge. After showing up, Mundo requests that Miha bring Okja's black box, a little gadget that is appended to her ear that screens her well-being. Wilcox is clearly offensive and is disturbed about getting over a mountain to arrive at the pig, however, is stunned after seeing Okja. He barks orders for his group to begin shooting as he announces that Okja is most certainly the victor and will happen to New York City to be divulged for the challenge. Miha and her granddad don't communicate in English and can't get what he's talking about, yet Miha gets it New York. In the wake of conversing with Mundo, Miha's granddad takes Miha to see her folks' graves while the group runs a couple of tests and assessments. While there, Miha's granddad gives her a little brilliant pig made of genuine gold and thinks back about how in the days of yore, older folks gave a brilliant pig to young ladies who were getting hitched. He offers her the pig as a hint that she is growing up and ought to quit playing with a pig in the mountains consistently. Miha asks him what's happening and her granddad concedes that individuals have come to remove Okja and he was trusting that she would be content with the brilliant pig. It makes sense that Okja will go through the night in Seoul before getting onto a plane to America for the challenge. At the point when Miha gets some information about the cash he used to purchase Okja, her granddad makes sense that Miranda wouldn't sell them the pig, so he utilized the cash to purchase a brilliant one all things considered. Miha is infuriated by this and takes off. Sometime thereafter, she packs a couple of little things, the brilliant pig, and Okja's natural products into a fanny pack, alongside each coin she has saved in her stash, and tells her granddad she's going to Seoul. Her granddad attempts to stop her and advises her that Okja's destiny is to be killed and eaten, however, Miha doesn't move. Miha takes to transport and trams until she, at last, gets to the Miranda organization building positioned in Seoul. She thumps on a major glass entryway and requests that a repulsive secretary see Mundo, but the assistant simply calls security to send somebody up to accompany Miha away. Still, up in the air, Miha gets through the glass entryway and goes through the place of business as security pursues her. She tracks down a lot of pictures of Okja, but not Mundo. She looks outside and sees them stacking Okja into a truck. Mundo takes a couple of pictures with Okja and has her tied in with a couple of creature controllers. Okja plainly doesn't have any desire to go. Mundo gets into the truck's taxi with a youthful driver who could do without his work and is irritated at Mundo's liveliness. As they drive away, Miha comes very close behind. Incredibly, she runs at pace with the truck and moves on board, beating on the divider so Okja can hear her. Okja does and cries boisterously. Abruptly, another truck drives up close by Mirando's truck. The driver of the subsequent truck and traveler RDX is wearing ski covers. They cheeringly tell Mundo and the Mirando driver that they're not fear-mongers and disdain brutality and request that they stop. At the point when the message doesn't get across, the two men murmur and hammer their truck into Mirando's, halting it and thumping Miha off. They leave their truck alongside others in veils as they make the way for Okja and incapacitate the overseers. When they break Okja out of her chains, she goes wild and uncontrolled as the concealed group attempts to quiet her down. While this is occurring, their chief showers word onto the front of Mirando's truck. Out of nowhere, Miha shouts to Okja and they rush to one another and escape. The concealed pioneer sees Miha and advises his team to get in the truck and follow them. Mundo is vexed, yet the transporter is giggling because Mirando fucked up, not him. Mundo orders the controllers after Okja and the pursuit starts. Miha drives a terrified Okja through a shopping center with the end goal to dodge the police and Mundo. In the wake of colliding with a store, the concealed men come in and shield Okja from the police. They get Miha, who is gravely harmed, and clear up for her that they're the heroes with ALF, Creature Liberation Front, a basic entitlements bunch that has been putting together to go after food organizations and slaughterhouses like Mirando for a long time and can't stand savagery. They generally run with Okja into their truck as they get away from the specialists. As the truck drives, Miha sits with Okja as the criminals can't help thinking about how to manage her since she doesn't find a place with their arrangement. Their chief strides forward and removes his cover and presents himself as Jay. His kindred individuals do likewise and present themselves.
K, a Korean who goes about as Miha's interpreter, blonde, a major leg-pulling man, red, a nasty lady, and silver, a man who is so committed to nature that he won't eat because it will leave a carbon impression, which winds up making him debilitated more often than not.
Miha presents herself and Okja through K's interpretation. Whenever asked how long she's been with Okja, Miha tells them since she was 4 years of age, making everything of Okja's life. Contacted, Jay chooses to clarify for her that Mirando lied when they said Okja and her mom were conceived normally when they truly were from a petri dish in New Jersey. He takes out a discovery, like the one on Okja's ear, and tells her it's actually a camera so they could switch it with Okja's black box and uncover to the world what truly occurs in the plants that Okja is going to. The challenge is only an exposure stunt while the pigs in general, much something other than 26, are to be handled and cleaved up to be sold around the world. Knowing how hazardous this mission is and the amount Miha really focuses on Okja, Jay requests her authorization to use Okja for the mission. The remainder of the group is frightened when they hear this since it will be all of their diligent effort down the channel, yet Jay is inflexible because Miha is Okja's loved one. They yield and Kay inquires as to whether she will allow them to take Okja for the mission. Miha says no, yet Kay would rather not cut short since they're so close and lies and lets them know she said okay. Jay and the team are blissful and embrace her, telling her it's for a genuine goal. They change out of the black box and make the way for the moving truck as it disregards water and leaps out. Kay, who feels somewhat regretful, rapidly advises her to learn English before leaving Miha with Okja as the police move in. Back in New York, Lucy is disturbed about the YouTube recording showing Miha and Okja going through the shopping area. Her governing body and family legal counselor, Frank, tell her that it's just a minor mishap and shouldn't actually upset deals. They additionally notice that the ALF will not have the option to contact them in New York since they have expanded security, and they fizzled because Mirando has Okja. Nonetheless, Lucy rewinds the tapes and focuses on a shot with the police removing Miha, shouting that the picture she had buckled down on to make throughout the previous 10 years. They can't be a decent organization that loves individuals and creatures assuming they're seen removing a kid from her pet. Forthcoming Tranquility recommends carrying Miha to New York, and Lucy shoots up. She rapidly advises her colleagues to book Miha tickets, international IDs, and visas and furnish her with all that she really wants to say the least. Mirando will pay for anything that harm Miha caused and welcome her to New York like a legend. Lucy imagines the entire trial as Contact as they rejoin a young lady and her pet in front of an audience, similar to a fantasy. Lucy says they might make her the new substance of Mirando in their showcasing effort. Dr. Wilcox, who's been tuning in, flies off the handle since he should be the substance of the organization that everyone loves. Lucy advises him to quiet down since his evaluations have been anguish and he's a has-been. Wilcox is agitated with this, yet Lucy doesn't mind as she barks orders. Her collaborator, Jenny, makes every one of the courses of action as Miha is set free from prison and is prepared to go to America, the organization delegates let her granddad know that she will make them a large chunk of change, and a ton of photograph operations as Korea sends their little rancher princess to New York. Miha, who now has no faith in anybody and is exceptionally furious, continually requests to address Okja on the telephone, causing everyone a deep sense of disarray. In the meantime, the ALF are following Okja's sign through their black box camera and are getting the video feed. They are completely invigorated that they will before long reveal what truly occurs in secret. In an obscured room that appears as though it was from the arrangement of the Saw film establishment, an alcoholic Wilcox as overseers get Okja utilizing dairy cattle nudges. He is exceptionally vexed that this pig will be removing his notoriety from the organization and recognizes that while Lucy said Okja isn't to be hurt, he won't kill her. As ALF watches, Wilcox carries a greater super pig into the space to mate with Okja persuasively. As the overseers and Wilcox abuse the pigs, ALF watches with sickening apprehension. Red shouts that they shouldn't have sent Okja there since they realized what was planned to occur. Fair tells her they didn't have the foggiest idea, however, Red lets him know they had thought. Whenever she asks so anyone might hear for what good reason Miha would have consented to this, Kay concedes that she didn't. After the accounts for himself, Jay serenely strolls over and punches him, which stuns the gathering since they could do without savagery. Jay tells Kay that he is currently prohibited from the gathering and they will return his gear when they are finished. Kay leaves in disgrace. Wilcox, in the meantime, is getting ready to utilize a gadget that separates meat from cows without killing them, as the telephone rings. Jenny with Miha has been requesting to address Okja. Hearing her voice, Okja wails and panics at Wilcox, who crushes the telephone in dread. Upset since he also adores creatures, or so he says, Wilcox separates Wiener estimated meat from Okja to be barbecued right away. Mirando films individuals eating the meat and adoring it. At the industrial facility, Jay attempts to keep Miha away from the horrendous sight of many super pigs being corralled by electric wall and steers pushes, yet Miha couldn't care less. She, Jay, and Kay start looking for Okja as security hurries to track down them, with Black Chalk just minutes away. Miha, at last, observes Okja as she is being grouped into the manufacturing plant. Miha surges in to see dead pigs being hung, stripped, and torn down the middle. She approaches where a laborer kills the super pigs and loads them onto a transport line. As Miha watches with dismay, Okja is driven towards the laborer to be killed. Miha hollers for him to stop and delivers an image of her with Okja when they were more youthful and Okja was no greater than a pet canine. As the laborer gazes at the image, Nancy, Frank, Jay, Kay and the Black Chalk come in. Jay attempts to safeguard Miha, however is captured alongside Kay. In English, Miha asks Nancy for what valid reason she needs to kill Okja. Nancy haughtily tells her that individuals will not eat pigs except if they're dead and that she possesses Okja and can do anything she desires. As Jay and Kay are being driven away, Jay tells her that while he really focuses on each living animal, both human and non-human, she is the special case. Nancy couldn't care less and provides the request to kill Okja. Miha shouts out for her to pause and delivers the brilliant pig her granddad gave her. Miha says she needs to purchase Okja, alive. Nancy consents to the arrangement and advises Frank to organize safe entry for Miha and Okja to return home. As they are driven outside, Miha thinks back to hearing the killings have proceeded and these pigs will experience a similar destiny. She then sees two super pigs battling to lift the electrified barrier barely enough so their child can get out. The child screeches and starts to cause a commotion, and Miha hopes to conceal the piglet before the watchman can see. Rapidly, Okja opens her mouth and conceals the piglet inside before anybody takes note. Back in Seoul, Miha lives in amicability with her granddad, Okja, and the piglet, who has turned into a charming expansion to their loved ones. Okja moves to Miha, who puts her ear close to Okja's mouth. Okja murmurs and Miha grins. In America, Jay is set free from jail and is welcomed by Kay. On public transport, Kay lets him know that their numbers have developed and how invigorated they are about their next work. He presents their most current part from Seoul, the previous Mirando transporter, who is a joyous expansion and is a remarkable big mouth. The previous driver plunks down close to Red, Blonde, and Silver, who is likewise on the transport. Kay lets him know that they are nearly at their stop and Mirando will be there as well, including Nancy. Jay makes a motion and everybody on the transport puts on ski veils. To watch more video like this, click on the videos on your screen and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last I will say stay safe and stay healthy. See you next videos.